In this video, we're going to focus on the legal nature of establishing a business and some of the things to consider, particularly business name, zoning, health, and then some other regulations. So all businesses have an obligation to observe statutory regulations, so they're legal regulations. They include things like having the appropriate license, permits to operate in a particular area, approvals, council approval, for example, to be able to operate a particular type of business, industry-specific organisations, meeting certain criteria within certain industries, having a banking license, for example, if you're operating a bank, and then also obligations with respect to government. Why are the regulations imposed? Well, it's to ensure that there's fairness, protection of consumers, encouraging efficiency within particular industries, and the risks of avoiding obligations include losing customers. It might have an impact on your particular reputation, fines from the relevant organisations, and also the cancellation of your licence or your ability to operate or trade as a particular business. In respect to business names, that's the responsibility of ASIC. The business owner needs to have their name registered, does not need to have it registered when it is that of the owner. But if a business owner wants to start a business that is using names other than that business owner, they must first check with ASIC to see that that name is available and not taken by someone else, and then they must get that business name registered with ASIC. There's a separate requirement in terms of the intellectual property of that particular name. So it's one thing to get your business registered with ASIC, but then you must, if you want that name to be your own name and trademark that name, then you must also register that with IP Australia. Zoning, we're just going to skip over zoning because we've covered that before. In terms of health regulations, that's more a local government responsibility. We're talking about businesses that are operating with food, cafes, restaurants, butcher shops and bakeries, for example, and that they have to make sure they're abiding by things like keeping food at appropriate temperatures, making sure that fridges are up to standard, that the temperature in the fridge is appropriate for the storage of what's in there, i.e. meat, for example. The kitchen layout, making sure there's no there's no chance of an injury or accident occurring because of the poor layout of the particular kitchen. Clothing requirements, using of gloves as an example when handling food items. How long can food actually be kept? And can certain food be stored with other food together in the same fridge? And also the correct handling of food by particular people with the appropriate clothing on, for example. Often, if problems do exist, they'll be given warnings, but if they can't rectify that, then the business may well be shut down in time. Some other regulations: Competition and Consumer Act, anti-competitive practices, for example, enforced by the ACCC, and in breaches of some of those acts can actually impose penalties of over $1 million for a company, or around $220,000 if you're an individual business. Okay, the next one will focus on human resources.